In this day and age, there's so much going on in the world that we were not exposed to many decades ago or years ago that I think we need help with. I want to help people see beneath the surface. I can't think of a phase in my life where I wasn't confronted with some toxic relationship. If you haven't had a toxic relationship, you haven't lived. You don't even know what a healthy relationship is.
Absolutely.
If you've been sick all your life, do you even remember what health is? Well, I'm a physician, radiologist by training. As a radiologist, I see what happens to people. Patients have so many pain points because I think so many people aren't thinking critically with clarity. Health gives you freedom. You don't realize that until you don't have health anymore. I wanted to create something to really help patients.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shayla Naid, and I'm here with Dr. Jerome Puryear, and we're here to discuss his new book, Mastering the Art of Letting Go of Emotional Pain and Toxic Relationships. But before we get into that, I would like to get to know yourself as well. Please tell me about yourself.
Well, I'm a physician, radiologist by training. I'm also board certified radiologist and obesity in medicine and board certified in health and wellness coaching. And so I do a lot of different things in medicine, but overall goal is to really to help people get from where they are to where they want to be in health and wellness in that spectrum.
Okay. And the big question, why did you write this book?
Well, I think in this day and age, there's so much going on in the world that we were not exposed to many decades ago or years ago that I think we need help with. And one of my objectives is really to help people see beneath the surface. As a radiologist, we see beneath the surface on a lot of different things, and just in general imaging. And I think I want to help people see beneath the surface as it relates to how they relate to other people, as it relates to our teens and young adults, and how they cope with stressors, particularly chronic stress, throughout life. And I think this book helps build self-confidence. I think it helps build resilience. I think it helps teens and young adults really deal with the life as it is today.
Okay. And how does your personal journey reflect and tie into this book?
My personal journey, I can't think of a phase in my life where I wasn't confronted with some toxic relationship.
I can understand that for sure.
I can't think of one. And so whether, in physicians, you're rotating through a lot of different rotations, surgery, and you're dealing with a lot of different people from all over the world. And, you just deal with a lot of different people. And not just myself, but I've seen other people have to deal with toxic relationships. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't end when you become a physician in training. It continues. And it's just living life. I mean, if you haven't had a toxic relationship, you haven't lived. Mm-hmm. You haven't lived, because many of us have family members who are, have toxic relationships. People are in relationships that have toxic relationships. Mm-hmm. People work and they have bosses who are controlling, who want to micromanage them, who cause chronic stress in your life. Come on now. Everybody has experienced this.
Absolutely. So the biggest question in toxic relationships is, how does one identify that they're even in one?
Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with you knowing who you are and being able to assess how people make you feel. When you assess any relationship, is it a relationship that makes you feel good about yourself? Or is it a relationship that makes you feel like you're insecure, like you're anxious? How does it really make you feel? I mean, there are many types of toxicities, whether it's, emotional, psychological, or physical harm that somebody's causing on you. But if it's, making you feel bad in any way, there's an element of toxicity that is involved in that relationship. And it's important for you to know yourself and be able to assess it. Because if you're not paying attention to it and you're not aware of it, you're not going to be paying attention to it. You're just going to say, I don't know what's happening. I don't feel good about this relationship. But the first part of that is being aware of yourself, your own emotions, having some level of emotional intelligence, and being able to bring that to life and recognize that this is where I am and this is what this relationship is.
Okay. So now hearing from the perspective of identifying toxic relationships, how can one also identify what the healthy relationship is for them, and if that is the complete opposite versus similarities with that toxic relationship as well? What does that
Right.
look like for you?
That's a very deep question. If you've been in a toxic relationship all your life and all of your relationships have been toxic, you don't even know what a healthy relationship is.
Absolutely.
You don't know what that is. And so, it's kind of like if you've been sick all your life, do you even remember what health is?
That's a great analogy.
you know? And so, I would say that nothing is black and white. And so I think on one end of the spectrum, you have different levels of toxic relationships. On the other end of the spectrum, you have healthy relationships. And the question that you have to ask yourself after you kind of become aware of where you are in that relationship, where do you fit on that spectrum? In that relationship? Are you towards the more toxic end where it's causing you chronic stress? It's causing you depression, anxiety? Is it causing any type of negative emotional reaction in you? Or is it more towards the healthy side where somebody is always there, filling up your cup, supporting you in every aspect, making you feel good about yourself in every aspect? That's how you know that it's a healthy relationship. That's how you know.
Well, that's a great answer. But I also do want to gear it back a little bit and just to know and identify when it's the right time to leave a toxic relationships, because sometimes we can find ourselves like the frog in boiling water, just allowing the heat to keep coming up and we're not noticing that we're at our breaking point. When is the great time to actually retract yourself from that?
Well, I think, first of all, you have to be aware that it is a toxic relationship and take measures to try to remedy the relationship if it's salvageable. And part of that is a strategy that you have to kind of go through. And the book kind of talks about this, about self-awareness, being aware of your own self and being able to take care of yourself. And then once you become aware that this is a toxic relationship, you have to set boundaries. And then, you have to set those boundaries to really protect your own care, your own mental health, and prevent harm from actually occurring to you. And then once you set those boundaries, and then that person who is in that relationship with you, who's considered, quote, the toxic one, doesn't abide by those boundaries, then you have a decision to make. And I can't say this applies to every scenario, but you have a decision to make whether you want to stay in that relationship or not. I mean, some people are trapped and they feel like they can't leave.
And for those people that feel like they can't leave, what are your best suggestions on to how to retract themselves from that?
Yeah, I would say, do what most people do is talk to other people in their family. But if that, because sometimes I think talking to other people gets you a different perspective. You want to talk to people who are, quote, in the know, not just that, people who are just saying, girl, that ain't a toxic relationship. You don't want, and you're like, well, I don't really like feeling this way. So this is kind of toxic to me. You may be used to it because that's all you know, but this ain't what I'm used to. So you're going to have to talk to people who are in the know who can really identify healthy versus toxic. And if that doesn't work in terms of talking to the people in your own community, you can also get support, whether psychological or psychiatric support or any type of counseling, and get a third view on this relationship. But sometimes that third view can bring things to light that you don't even see. You've been living in things all your life and you're like, I didn't even see what these people are pointing out to me. And sometimes it may be hard to accept initially, but after you have trust in this individual and they start uncovering layers and layers and layers of yourself, and you have to sometimes you have to decide if this is something that is can be remedied. Can that other person come to that counseling session and help, or are they just not really interested in that? More talking about more personal relationships more so than friends, but and if that person doesn't want to participate, all they want to do is take your cup that you're trying to fill up and just pour it out, or poke a hole in the bottom and just continue to make it leak and not support you, that's when you know.
I'd love to continue to ask a couple more questions, but Dr. Jerome Puryear, please let us know where we can find your book and to get out of these toxic relationships and emotional pains.
Yeah, you can definitely find the book on my website, drjeromepuryear. It's basically drjeromepuryear.com, or you can find it on amazon.com.
Perfect. Amazon, we love that. Okay, well, we'll see you soon and continue watching.